A 12,000-year-old galaxy-spanning empire is predicted to die, with the Dark Age said to follow. Harry Seldon predicts this. The demise is unavoidable, but he believes he can save the empire's legacy and preserve its vast knowledge and so shorten this period of brutal barbarism and savage warfare. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host, Liam, aka Himvar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review for Isaac Asimov's Foundation. Foundation is a classic 1951 science fiction novel by master of the genre Isaac Asimov. The book spans several centuries and jumps forward in time on multiple occasions. These sections were originally published in the pulpy sci-fi magazine Astounding Magazine beginning in 1942, before being compiled to make the novel in subsequent novels of Foundation and Empire and Second Foundation. This was my second Asimov novel, the first being The Gods Themselves, which I read with my brother back in April. As far as it goes, I enjoyed this one more, and let's get into the reasons why. Part 1, The Psychohistorians, introduces us to Gall Dornick, who is traveling to the heart of the galactic empire that comprises over 25 million inhabited worlds. Trantor is an ecumenopolis, a planet covered by one insanely large city, such as Coruscant in Star Wars. Gall, a mathematician, goes to work for the great psychohistorian Harry Seldon. Harry Seldon uses math to predict the future, and he's predicted so much disaster that he has been given the eek name Raven Seldon. Each part has a few short chapters. At the start of some chapters there are epigraphs, but not for every chapter. These epigraphs are taken from the in-world book Encyclopedia Galactica. This book is actually Seldon's solution to drastically shorten the interregnum period of anarchy, or at least that is what we're told. Seldon's prediction work is smothered, or at least attempted to be smothered, by the Imperium, who does not wish for such supposed weakness to be known. Part 2, the Encyclopedist, jumps 50 years in the future and focuses around a new character. This seems to be tangent to the first part, but eventually they intersect more explicitly. We get more exciting progression in the 1,000-year plan, and don't assume you know everything. Part 3, The Mayors, jumps 30 years and still has some of the same characters as Part 2, and is in the same location. This part was more engaging and had more action than Part 2. Part 4, The Traitors, was my least favorite as I didn't really see the point as far as the progression of the Foundation went. There is no real crisis here. I wasn't sure when it took place when reading it, though I did assume that it presumably took place after Part 3. Part 5, The Merchant Princess, is about 75 years after Part 3, and we actually learn that it is 20 years after Part 4 as well. This is by far the longest and most complex for plot. Now more into the story and writing. I found Asimov's writing to be easy and stylized. It's direct and has a sense of lightness to it. Asimov knows his science, so expect accuracy but nothing thrown at you fast and hard, as this is a smooth story with little action. Asimov also cuts the chase in his writing sometimes. When questions are asked, Asimov on several occasions skips a simple affirmative or denial when he wants the same person to keep speaking. Here's an example of this. Quote, "You know where the Farstar docks, don't you? Then show up tomorrow, goodbye." Unquote. So we can assume that after the question, the person he was asking said yes or nodded his head or some such. He doesn't waste time putting that into words when it can be conveyed just by continuing the dialogue, like so. It was fun seeing the start of the Foundation era as it progresses through the centuries. We get to see a lot, and this isn't too hard of a science fiction book. It's mostly just a theoretical exploration. And even though it shows its age, it is still surprisingly modern in certain elements, such as space travel and planetary life, all feel like the modern genre of science fiction. Asimov's characters don't get large monologues or have much difficulty to grow from, but they still seem human and they're never boring to read about, though there is an obvious lack of female characters. There are none that are important, and if I remember correctly, only one at all, used to showcase some high-tech, frivolous beauty product. And I hear that this was because Asimov avoided writing female characters because he had no experience conversing with them, though later even in the Foundation series we get more important female characters. Also, the immersion is decent for a story that jumps around. I enjoyed the progress of what people thought of the Empire and the mythical status Seldon gains. They even start cursing by his name later in the book. The scientific version of prophesying is an interesting way of keeping the reader's attention, as if it was all a bunch of math it would not be nearly as immersive. It seems almost mythical, the prediction of these mathematicians called psychohistorians. In fact, a religious sense does develop some. Throughout the course of the book, it became evident that this is some 50,000 years in the future, and the humans don't even know which planet they originated on. This really made me want to continue with the series and make sure to read the prequels as well. I will say that Asimov says that Trantor, the capital of the Galactic Empire, exceeds 40 billion in population, though Isaac Arthur has pointed out, with the size of the planet and it being a world city, but the population would easily be feasible in the trillions. And so while Asimov normally checks out in his science, I guess that is one point where he was not as accurate as he could have been. Anyways, those are my thoughts. As I mentioned, I'm looking forward to continuing the series, and I'm also looking forward to watching the show that comes out later this month, and that is the reason I wanted to get to this when I did. Have you read the book? What are your thoughts? The TV show comes out later this month, and I am looking forward to watching it. It'll be interesting to see what they take from the book and what they don't, as I think it would be really hard to adapt faithfully. I'm sure that it will mostly be inspiration and some names and ideas rather than a complete faithful adaptation, which I think will be fine, but we'll see. Anyhow, let me know if you enjoyed this review. It's been Liam with Liam's Lyceum, and until next time.